Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nicoll.
Thank you so much for dropping in today. This is series 12, where I'm back to uncover the stories and behind-the-scene moments of Team Canada's journey, this time to the Paris 2024 Olympics. I've done Tokyo. It was COVID. It was challenging for the athletes. We're going to hear about that. We've heard about that from some of the athletes. And this time I'm ready to hear about what it's going to be like to go to Paris, like a normal Olympics again. And everyone's journeys and behind the scenes of what it takes to get to the Olympics. So from July 26th to August 11th, 2024, the Olympics will be in Paris. From August 28th to September 8th, the Paralympics will be in Paris, where eyes will be on Paris. I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be glued to their phones or their TVs and just finding out what's happening with our athletes. So let me introduce the guest that we will be dropping in with today. And today is Sunday, July 11th, 2024. Now, this guest is a 3-time Paralympian and winner of 8 Paralympic medals in para-alpine skiing. 2 silver medals in Nagano 98, 2 silver and 2 bronze medals in Salt Lake City 2002. Now, this made her the first Canadian winter sport athlete to win 4 medals at a single Olympic or Paralympic Games. Boom. And then she went on to 2010 in Vancouver and got 2 bronze medals there. She was the manager with Game Plan, Canada's total athlete wellness program supporting Paralympians, Olympians, and national team athletes, and is now focusing on public speaking with ADN Conferences, a francophone Canadian talent agency. In May 2023, she was named Canada's co-chef de mission with Josh Vander Vies for the 2023 Parapan American Games in Santiago and the 2024 Paralympic Games in Paris. The first time Team Canada will have co-chefs. I love that they went to Santiago and as well as Paris. I think that's really cool. She's no stranger to the role as she was assistant chef de mission for the Canadian Paralympic team in Beijing 2022 at the Paralympic Winter Games. This guest is the first Paralympian to be inducted into the Canadian Ski Hall of Fame. She is also a member of the Canadian Paralympic Hall of Fame. She's a 3-time Paralympian. I'm so happy to drop in with Karolina Wisniewska. And she's going to tell me if I got that name right or wrong right now, because I know she's Polish and that's a challenging one for me.
Hey, I didn't know you knew I was Polish. Hi, Mercedes. Thank you for having me.
Okay,
Well,
let's get to the name.
yes. Okay, don't even look at how it's spelled.
I just brought it up on the screen if you're watching.
And if you speak French, I find it helps to put your French brain on.
Okay.
And then just repeat after me. It's really easy. Wisniewska.
Wisniewska. Very Polish.
Yes, it is.
I totally butchered it. So thank you for clarification. And I'm glad I asked for clarification on that one.
Don't worry.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Now, let everyone know where in the world you are today.
I am at home in Montreal.
Okay, perfect. I want to get going and get right into the rapid fire questions because I think everyone that's listening or watching might want to know what a chef de mission is. And we're going to get to that after because it is a strange thing that happens at the Olympics and Paralympics and no one really hears about it. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. But before we do that, 10 rapid fire questions that you've never seen before that are never rapid. You're ready.
Okay, I'm so ready.
Okay. Number 1, what's your favorite winter sport besides alpine skiing?
Snowboarding.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we have so much in common already.
I totally wanted to be. There was a period of time where I was like, no, skiing's not cool enough. I want to be a snowboarder.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. I'm looking at like all your successes that I just went through and like, I want to see you on a snowboard now. We're going to have to go snowboarding together.
Oh, but I don't know how.
Wait, you don't know how?
It's like, sorry. I thought you meant like to watch and follow. And
Okay, to do. No,
Oh,
okay.
to
You
do?
love watching snowboarding.
Oh, to do?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I did nothing. Nothing. Although, no, I'm trying. I got a winter bike last winter, so I'm trying winter cycling like in the city, but
Oh,
not so much as like a
wild.
sport thing, but because I don't have a car, so I want to be environmental,
Okay.
and so like I want to ride my bike all year round. So I'll say winter cycling.
I respect that.
I'm so
But you
sorry,
love
Mercedes. You got excited.
No.
I don't snowboard.
I want
No,
you to
because skiing
snowboard.
and snowboarding, it's like,
I know.
oh, I do too, except all the concussions and things I've had kind of prevent. But anyway, I had a lot of snowboarder friends. Like we used to
Yeah.
ride together, ski.
Yes.
I had no issues. Like people pretend there's this big schism between our sports, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Whatever. We're in the mountains. We're in the snow. We love it. It's great.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I always felt that way.
Well, also skiers are very helpful for snowboarders if there's like a flat
I know.
area or if there's
I'm like, yeah, because we
powder.
pull you along. I've done that so many times.
You make the track and I will follow you.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, number 2, best place you've ever skied.
Well, I have to say, oh God, okay. Well, it's definitely going to be somewhere in the Alps. I love the Alps.
Okay.
Just, the added kind of like culture that's around the Alps. I would say from a training perspective, not in terms of the actual hill, but in terms of the town, Zermatt, Switzerland. It's just, it's world class. It's so beautiful with the Matterhorn, and it's just and it has no cars in the village. It's amazing. It's the quintessential Swiss experience. It's stunning.
I do like that.
I don't know, but for snow, see, the Alps is for that ambiance and like all this.
Yeah.
And I've had some really great results in Europe, so I'm quite fond.
Yes.
But in terms of snow quality, nothing in the world has ever in my life. I grew up in Calgary and Banff, and so the snow there is so light and so dry. And that
Alberta, you're going to say Alberta?
Well, okay. The thing is, for snow quality,
Alberta, I love this.
Okay, I have to be specific. Snow quality.
Okay.
Alberta and Colorado, the Rockies, because there's no better snow in the world. Like, hands down, I've never skied on better snow in my life. I was spoiled. I mean, you're out in Whistler, and I love Whistler Blackcomb, but
we get heavy snow.
Snow is heavy, and it's wet, and it's gross.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
So,
I respect it. It's like champagne powder over there.
Oh, it's so good.
I
mean, I think the interior of BC also gets that kind of champagne-y snow. Like, so anywhere kind of Alberta Rockies, interior of BC, for snow quality, I have never skied on better snow. Like, also not man-made,
Yeah. That's fair. And coming from a ski racer who's on ice normally.
I know.
I like it. Okay, number 3. Who's your all-time favorite athlete? That's a tough question even for me.
Oh God. Do you know what? All-time favorite? This is terrible to say. It keeps changing with
That's
time.
Understandable. Yeah. I know. I don't even know what sport I would choose.
I know. That's what I'm trying to narrow it down to a sport. Well, okay. At the moment, but I'm not original in this at all. I'm really into Iga Świątek, who's the number 1 in tennis.
Okay.
She's Polish, but she's also
incredible.
And she also took a lot. She is close to or works with in some way with Roger Federer, who I always thought was
legend.
Such a legend and so classy. And so because
also Wimbledon's on right now.
I know, because that's my parents are like, we can't talk to you. We have Copa America. We have Euro in football. Don't tell me who Canada won. And Copa, then Europa Cup and Wimbledon. And I literally was talking to my dad. She's like, I don't have time to talk to you. I have way too much sports to watch, but this is my childhood. And when the Grand Slams were on growing up, like in tennis, any of the Grand Slams, my sister and I were not even allowed to walk in front of the TV for a split second. We'd get screamed at because it wasn't being recorded. It was all live, right? So my parents were like, no, get out of the way.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
When we were little, we didn't we didn't understand tennis and like the scoring system or anything, so we just thought it was terribly boring.
Yeah.
Of course, once you understand, it's amazing.
Are you all in right now for Wimbledon? Are you
well,
watching it?
I don't have cable.
Oh my
I know,
gosh.
it's so embarrassing.
That's totally fair.
I'm like, you're like, meet your chef de mission. She doesn't drive a car. She doesn't have cable. I know how to drive. I just don't have a car right now.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's totally on point. You're ahead of everyone. Ahead.
Yes.
All
Well,
right.
you know.
All right. That was a tough question for sure. I don't know who I would choose. I mean, I do.
I know,
Federer.
and that's just for the like that's Federer and
in the
Strozic
right now. Yeah, that's totally fair. Number 4, what was your go-to meal before a big competition?
Well, certainly I'm not including breakfast because I never really felt like I'm a big eater and I love food. And when I was an athlete, that was even more the case.
Yeah.
And I always ate a big and healthy breakfast. Well, not big, but healthy breakfast. But I always felt like the meal, I don't know about you, but the meal the night before, the meal the night before and the meal after, you're right.
Yeah.
The meal the night before I felt was like a big one for me.
For sure.
So really, honestly, it sounds so simple, but like, you know, some kind of carbs, so like pasta or whatever.
Yeah.
And protein, definitely, like some kind of
what kind of protein? Like, are you a steak girl? Are you fish? Like
tofu?
Oh,
I'm steak. I'm from Alberta. Come on.
Okay,
Alberta
perfect.
Steak all the way. I'm steak. Oh, I'm steak. I'm so steak.
Well, I know some athletes that were like, they had to have a steak right before, like the night before their competition. That was like their ritual.
I never had anything like that in terms of food. Because, we, like, you don't know, you could be anywhere in the world. You may not have. And also on the para-alpine circuit versus the able-bodied alpine circuit, it's not like we had necessarily access to everything and like all the fanciest hotels.
I like that you think that we had access to everything that was fancy and nice.
I just worked at the Women's World Cup at Tremblant that was here in December for the giant slalom that's at Tremblant now for the next few years.
The skiers, they probably have everything. And, they probably.
Oh my goodness, I was like, oh, this is what the able-bodied world is like. This was not.
I think it's only for specific sports. I think it's for specific sports.
Oh yeah. And so also going back to the question about, athletes I really admire. I can think of one right now. I can't believe I knew. Who I'm really admiring right now? Valérie Grenier. She's a Canadian alpine skier. Yes. She is incredible. And she had a huge crash in Cortina, I want to say in January.
Okay.
And then I just met her recently, and like she had her humerus was broken, and she had like all these things in her arm, and she had to go to the crash happened in Cortina, which is the next Winter Olympics and Paralympics. Of course, you and I know this.
Yes.
She crashed, and she had to go to Austria for the first surgery, and then came back to Canada for more surgeries. But I also recently had surgery in Austria. In Innsbruck. We both had surgery in Innsbruck. Anyway, that's not the reason I admire her, but her ability to come back from crazy crashes and injury is pretty much second to none. And she's very down to earth and really nice. Besides being an amazing skier, like the fact is, I sat and chatted. Yeah, she's just really down to earth and very, very nice. And
I'll have to get her on the podcast.
Oh, you should.
I love it.
You totally should. I mean,
yes.
She probably doesn't even remember me because I was a little bit starstruck. I'm like, oh my God, it's Val Grenier. But, she'd be like, who's Karolina? Who are you talking about? But anyway, for real. I have a lot of admiration because it's clear, like her, I don't even want to call it work ethic, that resilience and that like just
the grit
drive and the grit.
Yeah.
That's the word. She's got grit.
Yeah. I mean, I always find it super interesting with athletes, like, and I've said this in podcasts before, like how they crash and then you get back up. I mean, we're no strangers to that either. Like crashing, getting back up, overcoming, but like there is that like passion and drive and grit that's in you to persevere, to keep going again. And like, a lot of people don't have that.
Do you know this really? Because that's what I was thinking in my head. It's really refreshing to hear you say that because I'm also doing a lot of public speaking and like motivational speaking and inspirational stuff. And I'm like, what is it? And people are trying to get like the secret. And like, the secret sauce. What's your secret to success?
Yeah, you want it. You got to want it.
And the more I think about it, it's like, you just got to want it more than everybody else. And not only want it, but do all the hard and can I swear
Yeah.
on the show the shitty work that comes
Yeah, you can
before.
swear. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even wait for your answer. I was like, I'm just gonna do it.
It's all good.
Because it's not all like okay, yes, there is
It's
the part
not
about the steak before your race if you're lucky. But
Yeah.
it's everybody people have these notions attached to your sport,
Yeah.
like tennis and skiing and golf and equestrian are so considered snooty. But I was like, okay, again, remember, like for me, it's like the para side is very different, and
Yeah.
people associate certain things with snowboarding, and I bet you it depends, are you free ride, are you parallel, like I'm sorry, free ride and GS and snowboard to me is like two different worlds.
Yes.
I mean, it's like in skiing, racing, and free ride. It's like never the twain shall meet. It's like, it's still, and people often are like, oh, so you did ski racing, so you jump off those things. And I'm like, no, I'm not a ski jumper. I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like,
I
mostly stay
admire,
on snow.
I admire the crazy, but I don't do that.
So funny. Okay, let's get into no, I love it. I could talk to you all day. Number 5, favorite memory from the Paralympic Games. You went to 3, so I don't know how you're gonna choose. Sometimes I like to choose like one little thing from each one.
No, because I immediately was like, okay, which games is it gonna be?
Yeah.
I'm thinking Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's not the favorite, but it's a favorite for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with this one.
Okay.
Because I don't know about you, and most people don't realize this. They assume that all athletes, of course, have waited their entire lives, so they all march in the opening ceremony, which is absolutely not true.
I know.
Because many people have to compete the next day.
Yeah.
And if you're an alpine skier and you're like me and I raced all disciplines, you have the downhill the day after the opening ceremony. And the downhill is like it's like the most prestigious event of the Winter Olympics, people say. Men's downhill, that's what they say. So anyway, downhill's a big deal, and you have to do official training runs beforehand, which are just like the race. So you're up at Whistler, like let's say this is 2010, you're preparing. You're not going to take a bus 2.5 hours down to Vancouver, then wait under a stadium for hours, dehydrated, stand around, and for hours.
On your feet. Yeah.
On your feet, and then walk into a stadium, wave at a bunch of people, then walk out.
Yeah.
Or sit and watch the ceremony till midnight, and then go back up to be back at Creekside for 3 a.m. so you can be on the snow at 6 for like the biggest race of your life. That's also high speed and dangerous. And I've never explained it in this much detail, but
I love it.
People are like, what? You didn't go to the opening ceremonies? And I'm like, what? You think I did? Are you crazy?
Totally.
Like I remember, so in Nagano, which were my first games, we did go.
Okay.
But we did like a walk in and walk out.
Because there's 2 choices.
Yeah.
You have 2 choices. You can go walk in, leave. You can go, and there's like a bus that'll take you to your village. And then that's like option A kind of. And option B is you sit through the whole thing.
That's right. Or option C, don't go at all.
Oh, yeah.
And then, Nagano, the Paralympic, this is 1998, so the Paralympic almost 30 years ago, geez Louise, the Paralympic movement was not so known. So like, it was like, it wasn't a huge, we were not even in a stadium. I mean, Nagano was amazing, but it wasn't a huge stadium. It wasn't full. It was Japan. I'd never been to Japan, and I have many wonderful memories of Nagano, but like we did a walk in and walk out. So I felt like I missed the whole thing.
And then you competed the next morning?
Yes.
Oh, you're nuts.
Oh, I know. And we had just arrived from Canada. We were completely jet lagged. And speaking of snow, the snow in Nagano was like nothing and you will understand this.
Yeah, I loved it
Nothing
there.
like I'd ever felt or skied on before at the time. And so we were all like, what is this weird? It was weird because it's March. We're always in March for the Winter Paralympics, which is late in the season.
So you're getting like spring snow.
Yeah, you're getting kind of
that's
this weird.
Shitty.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I'm like
more
talking
forgiving.
About snow, and most of these people are like, could you just stop talking about snow? But I'm like, no, it's so important to our sports. It is
important. Yeah.
All this to say, the memory I was thinking of was that in Salt Lake City, it was in the Olympic Stadium. My parents had driven down from Calgary, and they were staying with this lovely local family. They had this, like, you know, local people can host families from other countries.
Sweet.
So Dawn and Roger from Salt Lake City were hosting my parents.
Shout out Dawn.
I know, Dawn and Roger, they were so sweet. Oh my God.
Amazing.
They had I never knew this until one night I went to their house for dinner. They made a huge sign on their lawn with my face.
Oh my gosh.
And then they're like, not knowing that I would win any medals. And I podiumed in every event, but it was like, how many medals has Karolina won on their lawn? And it was like 1.
Oh my
2,
gosh.
3. It was crazy. So their whole neighborhood was like driving by, seeing what the tally was.
Huge shout out to them. That's amazing.
And crazily, I don't even have a picture of me with the thing, but it was there. I came up to their house and I was like, what is this? Oh my God. It was like this huge head on their lawn.
That's like a really good memory. That's a core memory that is never going to fade away.
I know. It's so cool.
Oh, it's the little things or the big things, the big faces that people put in your yard.
And they've never met me. They didn't even know who I was. They just knew they were going to host my parents. And can I just add, the program was you'd host like 2 people. But then my sister, who lived in New York City at the time, at the last minute was like, oh, I want to come with my friend. And they had no obligation whatsoever to help out my sister and her friend. But no, Dawn and Roger were like, oh, Veronica, that's my sister and her friend. Yes, of course they can stay with us. So these people hosted my entire family plus 4 people.
So amazing. I mean, honestly, the Olympics does it. It brings people together. And I love that. Oh, so rad. Such a great memory. Okay, number 6, if you could visit any country in the world, where would you go?
Mongolia.
So random.
I know, it's totally random. But see, if I had to answer all the questions quick, I could.
Yeah, I know. No, we're not doing that. Okay. Mongolia, what?
Do you know what? I don't know. It just, because it's random.
Okay.
And it just seems, okay, so the culture, it seems just interesting to me, like geographically, the steppes, the wild horses, culturally, it just seems, I don't want to go somewhere where everybody go, like, you know.
I hear you.
I mean, okay, don't get me wrong, Paris excluded.
Well, you're going.
I'm going to Paris. I'm not including Paris on that list.
It's going to be chaos.
I love Paris. Yeah. But in terms of, and I don't want to say that I've been to all the beautiful places in the world, not at all. I just find as I'm getting older and I'm not traveling for skiing and I can, it's like, okay, well, I kind of want to go off the beaten track.
Doesn't that make, like, I agree. We've been where a lot of people are. Don't need to go back. So I like that, Mongolia. That's really interesting. I like that. Number 7, what's your favorite way to relax after a long day?
Well, it's definitely different now than when I was an athlete.
Yeah, what is it now?
It's probably Netflix and chill. I mean, I don't have cable, but I have Netflix.
Yes. What are you watching on Netflix right now?
Okay, in preparation for Paris, I'm such a nerd. I'm watching, because I am bilingual, but I still need to like perfect my Parisian French. So I'm watching this show about this family of real estate agents in Paris called L'Agence. It's ridiculous. It's this husband and wife team who have 4 sons. Okay. And they basically run luxury real estate agency in Paris. And like it's season after season. And so like, the 2 younger sons are getting older and then they join the company. And now I'm at like near the end, I think. And, all the 4 sons are in the agency and they're like expanding. First, they expand like outside of Paris to like the rest of France. And then they're expanding to some other countries. But it's awesome because, I did it to perfect but it also just, I can't wait to get to Paris. And so you're looking at all this like ultra luxurious real estate in Paris that you're never going to see. And so it's kind of cool. So that's what I'm watching now.
I'm a fan of real estate.
Me too. I mean, just watch.
And it's in French, so you're helping yourself.
I am. And then as soon as Paris is over, I don't have a role for Cortina yet, but I'm switching to Italian Netflix. I'm going to switch to Italian and I'm going to be like, okay, what are all the Italian shows? I need to it's unfair because I have spoken French almost my whole life and I haven't spoken Italian my whole life, but I have every intention of improving my Italian as quickly as possible.
I think
Netflix.
that's so rad. That's so important. So cool.
So if you know any good Italian shows on Netflix, please feel free to let me know.
Yeah, I mean, get at her, girl. I don't know. I don't know personally, but people will that are listening. Okay, so this is number 8. What's one word to describe your experience so far as co-chef de mission?
It's funny what came to mind.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of work.
Yes.
And we'll get to that. But fun. Still fun.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, cool. Number 9, what's the funniest moment during your athletic career?
I'm sorry, there were so many. I'm like, are you serious?
Okay.
I don't like every day with me is like some stupid funny thing happens, or I do some stupid funny thing. I'm very goofy. I'm also clumsy. I think that's partly because of my disability.
Right.
And yeah, so it was probably something to do, like, okay, I'm going to embarrass myself here, but it was probably something to do with some guy on another team who I thought was cute. And I just decided to go on over and be like, hi, I'm Karolina. And made a fool of myself. That happened on the regular.
I love it. So good. I was trying to think of something and I was like, what's something like funny? And I was like, I remember I was walking in Walmart with my sunglasses on, trying to make a video for my friends, just like laughing. And I think I just like completely walked into something and like smoked my face and fell over in Walmart. And I was like, you got to laugh at yourself, right? You're just like, I feel like I'm being really vain by like trying to send this funny video and then just
but you're being a good friend and then the video just went to like a whole other level of funny. I'm sorry.
I know. And I like watch that video now and it still makes me laugh so hard.
Well, this wasn't funny at the time, but we were training at Nicoll. You probably maybe trained, and it's got the like racy snow, the like very man-made, very hard snow.
Yeah.
And it was Valentine's Day or just before Valentine's Day.
Okay.
And I crashed and I had the weirdest fall because I used to fall like this as a kid where it's like, you're going with your hands out front, your legs are behind you and you're like, boop, 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 and you can't stop. Except I was training and so I was going fast and I ended up on my face. And so my goggles went up and I just skidded the whole way down on my face. Didn't really think about it. And then it turned into like I had like scraped all the skin off my face. Plus I had two black eyes.
No.
For Valentine's Day. And so my coach thought that was hilarious. And I was like, whatever. But I don't know about you, but for me, this was normal at the time. Like all the things that happened to my body and like I broke this, I broke that, I ripped the skin off my face. It's like, whatever, who cares? Like I didn't really care. I just was like, yeah, okay,
moving
whatever.
on.
And my coach was like, but Caro, it's Valentine's Day. I'm like, yeah, so whatever. Like, who cares? I don't
just another day. Nothing's happening here. I got some red on my face for Valentine's Day.
Exactly. I'm in the color scheme.
Love it. Too funny. Okay, last one. Really easy one. And we kind of touched on this, so I'm assuming the answer is yes. Have you been to Paris before?
I have many times.
Many times. For skiing or for leisure?
For no, always for vacation. Yes.
Okay.
Always. So nothing to do with skiing. Never always on my own or with my family or
Okay, this is one of my questions.
I went once for work, actually. That was cool too. Like, yes.
Get paid to go to Paris? Okay.
Yeah, it was great.
Nice. We've done the rapid fire, crushed it, absolutely crushed it. We haven't talked about what got you into skiing and how that all came about. So do you want to just touch on that before we talk about your chef de mission job?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. So I think I mentioned it before. If you haven't figured it out yet, I was a Paralympian, which means I have to have a physical disability in order to be a Paralympian.
Yeah.
I was born in Warsaw, Poland, and I was born really premature. And so we think that that's the reason why I was born with my disability, which is called cerebral palsy. And cerebral palsy is one of those disabilities where it is really on a spectrum. Like you can have severe CP for short, severe CP or not as severe, and different parts of your body are affected depending on where the damage occurs in your brain. So it's neurological damage at or near birth, because it could happen after you're born, but it usually happens at birth.
Okay.
But it could happen, if a kid falls down and hits their head or something when they're really little, then they incur brain damage and it's permanent. So cerebral palsy is permanent. It's
Mhm.
non-progressive in theory. So
Okay.
it's not well, in theory, it is non-progressive. So I won't, I'm very fortunate, it's not going to progress, and I won't,
Yeah.
it won't be the end of me, so to speak.
Mhm.
But I'm getting older with cerebral palsy, and I will say it's not entirely non-progressive. It gets more complicated as you age. But all
Interesting.
that to say, that's my disability.
Mhm.
And so, but I wasn't diagnosed when I was little. And then I wasn't diagnosed until I was about 3 years old.
Okay.
And the physiotherapist at the time, this was in Finland, said that alpine skiing would be a good form of physiotherapy for me, because for me, my cerebral palsy affects mostly my core and my
Okay.
legs and my balance. So
Okay.
they're like, and if you know anything about skiing, gee, what do you use when you ski? Your core,
Yeah,
your legs, and your balance.
yeah.
So they just said, oh, it would be a great form of physiotherapy for Karolina because it would challenge her legs, her
Yes.
balance, and all this.
Wow.
So I'm only now realizing that I ended up doing the sport that was probably the hardest for me to do.
Right?
It was freaking hard.
And you crushed it.
Yeah, but not in the
Absolutely.
beginning.
Okay.
No. In the beginning, it crushed me. It crushed me for like decades. Decades. Well,
Wow.
maybe not. Okay, I was 19 when I became world champion. So, okay, almost decades. But anyway, it crushed me for a long time.
Do you think that like really did help? Like, do you think your life would be completely different if you hadn't picked up skiing? Like your mobility and your core do you think it like helped train it? I don't know. I'm just
Yes.
asking.
Yeah, that's a great question. And nothing's off limits, by the way. I'm like,
Thank you.
I'm the co-chef de mission for the Paralympic team. I should be able to talk about disabilities and my own disability. If I can't do it, then we're in trouble. So I would say, I think so, because now I'm not a high performance athlete. I'm just a regular person. And sadly, I'm embarrassed to admit, like, I don't exercise as much. I'm not as
Right.
mobile. Yeah. And there's a difference. And I'm also like, I
Okay.
get older, but there is a difference. But really, I don't, now when I think about skiing, I just think
Yeah.
about all that it brought me in terms of,
Yeah.
the love of skiing, of being like, I feel like all these things I'm going to say to you are the same, like being out in the mountains, in the
Mhm.
snow, like with your teammates and your friends and out in nature, and also, I never thought about this, but like moving your body through space
Yeah.
and in nature. So as I mentioned, like I really like cycling when I live in a city. So it's, and
Yeah.
cycling, it's not the same as skiing because I'm not like going hardcore and there are cars everywhere. So I'm not,
Right.
but I still love that feeling of like, oh, I'm moving through space.
Yeah.
I'm moving my body
Yeah.
through space. Like walking
It is like a
not,
beautiful thing.
it is a
Gliding
beautiful
on
thing. Oh,
going
isn't it?
faster. Yeah.
Oh, and I mean,
Speed.
I just love the fact, yeah. I mean, I can't, because I'm a skier, so I don't get stuck on the flats. I was really good on the flats, actually. That was like I was so good at the flats.
Nice.
It's because I grew up at Sunshine Village was my home hill. And I don't
Yes.
know if you've ever ridden
I
there,
have. Yeah.
but there's the
It's super
ski out, which is
interesting.
so flat.
Yeah.
And I spent my entire, growing up doing ski out, like every time at the end of the day. So you had to like get a really good tuck and be really good on the flats. It's all
Totally.
thanks to the flats at Sunshine
Heyo.
that I won all the downhills that I won. And Super G's, people think that flats aren't important, but they so are, because it's the part of the race that people forget. And I'm like, dude,
Right.
you can win time here.
And are you like, would you be in a tuck that whole time? Like
Oh, yeah.
that's where you're practicing your tuck.
Absolutely.
Your legs must have been so strong.
Well, it's weird. For someone with cerebral palsy, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But compared to like an able-bodied person, it's really different. And
Okay.
my legs, so cerebral palsy for me, there's two different kinds, but I have the spastic kind, which is the way more common kind.
Okay.
And so essentially, if my hand, which is just like this, if this is you or like an able-bodied person, my tendons, muscles, and ligaments are all spastic all the time. So they're like this. So there's like a very,
Okay. So you went from an open hand to a closed fist.
So I'm a closed fist already. Like this is, and I have like this much range of motion, right? My range of it's
Okay, so
really
you have like
like,
a centimeter range of motion?
well, I don't know if it's a centimeter, but
But yeah.
like instead of being
Wow.
like, ooh, these are my legs, boop, 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 boop,
Yeah.
my legs are like this.
They're
They're like,
always tight.
yes, always. Oh my
Oh
God,
my
my
God.
hamstrings are insane.
You must
So,
have to eat a lot of food though.
why?
Well, I mean, you're just like, you're using a lot of energy.
This is, I do eat a lot.
Yeah,
I don't
because
think
you're always in
contraction.
contraction.
Yeah, I'm always in contraction. It's crazy.
Oh.
I don't know. I think
I don't know. That's just the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, you're literally working out all the time.
Well, I don't.
Your
See, I
body's
don't think
working overtime.
Well, right now, what's hard for me, I've never liked walking, and I still don't like walking.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to do I had to do a lot of walking in Santiago at the Parapan Am Games, and I will have to do a lot of walking in Paris. So that it's weird to think that I'm more scared of just walking, which everybody can do, than a downhill. Like, give me a downhill at 130 kilometers any day.
Fascinating.
Over walking around.
Oh no, I respect that so much. I think that makes sense, though.
I'm not trained to do a downhill right now. If I did a downhill right now, I'd probably kill myself. But in reality, right? But I'd still do
muscle memory. Muscle memory comes back real quick. I'll tell you that much.
No, I know. If it was a properly set, I'd probably not be going 130. I could still do it. It'd be slow. It would be like under 100K.
I love it.
So it wouldn't be fast. It would be like 99K an hour.
I mean, still, that for most people, they'd be like, you're crazy.
That would be so slow. I'd be like, oh, God damn it. This downhill is taking forever.
Too good. Okay, I do want to get into your role as chef de mission. And I don't even know how you're going to explain it, because
I know how I'll explain it.
Okay, but is it different from like able-bodied to para?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Especially because, so we're July 7th today? So July 1st, Canada Day, I did an interview with Bruni Surin, who is the Olympic chef de mission. Yeah. And we had no prep ahead of time. And they asked us as a twosome what it is to be chef. I mean, it was really interesting to hear what Bruni said. I had more to say. So I think also each chef brings their own flavor. But 100%. There is a fundamental kind of, there are some parameters, I would say, to what being a chef is.
It's not a tiny job that you've taken on as a volunteer role, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, it's a contract role, but yes, essentially it's but I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled. I'm so honored, and I'm having the best time. Like, I feel, at the risk of sounding, I'm just having such a great time with it, and at the risk of sounding, I don't mean to sound arrogant in any way, but I'm like, I'm the perfect person for this job.
So good. So explain what it is. Explain to us what it means and how it works.
So you did a great job introducing it, essentially, Mercedes. Every time a country, any country, Canada, France, whomever, sends a team to a major games. So let's just, for now, for the simplicity's sake, say the Olympic Games or the Paralympic Games or the Parapan Am Games or Parapan Am Games that we just had in Santiago in the fall. Yeah. They will have a person, or in this case, persons, who is called the chef de mission, which, if you speak French, it has nothing to do with cooking. It's the head of delegation. It's the chief of the team or whatever. Yeah. That's where the chef comes from. It's not for cooking. It's chief. Yeah. So chief of the team. Yay, that's me. And Josh Vander Vies. Yeah. And our role, it really neatly breaks down into three parts, I think. The first and most important one, in my opinion, and when I interviewed for the role, this was where I put all my
eggs in the basket.
I was like, all my money. I'm like, there was no money in the interview. All my eggs in the basket. All my eggs in the basket, and that is as a mentor for the athletes, a mentor, an ear, someone to talk to, someone to look up to, someone to learn from, someone to lean on, someone to have around or ignore. My approach to being a chef is, because I have been on the other side. I do not want to impose myself at all on these high performance athletes who have their own strategies, their own plans, lifetime of training and preparing, as you and I both know. Yeah. I don't want to be in there and be like, hey, I'm Karolina
Yeah.
from winter. You don't even know me because you're a summer athlete. You've never met me. You don't know who I am. You know nothing about me. Hi, let me come in here and mess it up. No.
Yeah.
So I really think for me, it's been critical to meet as many of the athletes and coaches and their integrated service teams, ISTs, before the games as I can. And so you mentioned that it's really cool that Josh and I got to be co-chefs for Santiago, and I agree. That was the Parapan American Games in Santiago, Chile in November, which, like the Paralympics, followed after the Pan Am Games. And it was great because it's not that all the athletes that were in Santiago will be in Paris. Many of them will. So that's fantastic. We got to know a lot of athletes on the ground, got to see how
great strategy.
Behind the scenes team, working in the village, working on all the things, transportation, all the things that could go wrong, which always kind of do. And then people in the background are fixing it and athletes don't know about it. So it was really, really great.
It's probably eye-opening for you to go from athlete on the ground to this role of behind the scenes. Now you're uncovering everything that you didn't know when you were an athlete.
Well, yes and no. In my case, I actually worked at Sport Canada for a long time, and I went to a few games with Sport Canada. So I was behind the scenes with Sport Canada. And every time I was at the Paralympics, so every time I was there with Sport Canada, the Canadian Paralympic Committee would be like, "Oh, Karolina, great, you're here. Let's take you along with us for some other stuff." So I was always kind of doing 2 or 3 things, which is kind of crazy at the same time. So I already got the behind the scenes then, but that was really more from I would say a worker bee point of view, and that was tough. It was tough to go from like, I'm on the podium and the whole country's like, yay, to like, I'm in a dark room in a basement entering data. Like, I was like, okay, this is not. Now being a chef is more my thing. It's like, okay, I feel like data entry is not my strong suit, like, or whatever. I'm not really making that up, but you know what I mean? My strong suit is talking to people, believe it or not, listening to people, and making a connection, and also representing Canada. So the first chunk of being a chef is that athlete coach, that whole Team Canada aspect, because I don't see it just as the athletes. I see it as supporting. We're like leading the team like into the stadium in Santiago, and hopefully down the Champs-Élysées. That's where our opening ceremony will take place. Josh and I and the flag bearers, 1 female, 1 male, who have yet to be chosen, will be leading the team, like in actual fact. But
you're going to the opening ceremonies.
I am going.
Full circle.
And actually, it's true. Even walking in the stadiums in Santiago, I was like, wow. And my arm got so tired because we're just
you're waving
around this huge stadium, and I just kept waving and jumping up and down and smiling, and everybody was so receptive. So and I lost my voice because I was like also screaming at the whole team and like getting everybody. I was going nuts. I was really like doing the cheerleader thing.
I love
it. Okay, I'm frozen.
No, you're not frozen.
Oh, good. Okay, well, I'm frozen on my end, and I look ridiculous.
I can see you.
All right.
So that's one portion of 3. Yeah. What are the other 2?
The second one would be something like what we're doing today, is like talking to media and all that stuff. And people think, oh, is that really important? And it's super important. To get messages out, but also so that, honest to goodness, there are things that a chef, because we're all now former athletes, we can answer those questions. You don't need to talk to somebody who's at the games right now trying to get their shit together.
Totally.
That's not necessary. I mean, media loves to be there in the moment. But the fact of the matter is, especially leading into games, athletes don't need that. After they're done, absolutely. And they want to share their stories, 100%.
Yeah.
But also talking about bigger questions and bigger concerns, that's not for the athletes to have to deal with those big, tough questions about, I don't know, safe sport, the sports system, whatever you have going on, politics.
You are the face of the athletes right now in that retrospect. Exactly. Yeah. Because honestly, they are training so hard right now. It's like they don't need, and they may not choose to talk to media. So they need you.
Exactly. And the third one, I think, goes really hand in hand with that. And this is on the Canadian Paralympic Committee side. I mean, I think Bruni might have a slightly different breakdown of responsibilities. But, for me, I know that these are mine. And the third one is, all those similar to media events with partners and sponsors, or with the embassy, those sorts of things. Again, it's not, athletes can choose to participate in those things, but performance is the number one goal.
100%.
And so I feel, actually, if you whittle down all those three responsibilities into one thing, I'm actually there to support their performance.
And so you are not looking forward to walking so much. Let's explain why you need to walk so much, because from my experience, I don't know, I've had 4 Winter Olympic experiences, different chef de missions. They're everywhere. And it's one person usually. And so it's very cool that there's 2 of you. I don't know if you're conquering and dividing. We'll get to that.
Yes, dividing and conquering, totally.
Yeah, dividing and conquering. But like, if just for people that don't know, like when you're an athlete at the games, the chef de mission, my outlook on it was they were trying to be at the events to support the athletes and kind of be at the finish line. But there's only one of them, and there's like at the summer games a lot of athletes. And so when you said I'm not looking forward to walking, I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but no one else does. Do you know what I mean? In that sense of like you're going to have to be at a lot of different events, and some events overlap. And how do you figure out that schedule? Because I was on mission team staff at the Youth Olympics, and Anna Mae Pierce was the chef de mission there. And I was like, I don't even know how you like have time to eat in the day. So like, I'm sure that like the para Canadian teams helping you figure out your schedule, but like, how does that work?
You know what, Mercedes, you answer the question of what a chef de mission does way better than I did. I gave the official answer, and I was like, but your answer is the real answer, which is you're everywhere all the time. I gave like these are the roles, these are the bubbles in which I play. But the fact of the matter is, and I know this
you're
was
everywhere.
You're everywhere. And if you're anything like me or my co-chef Josh, we both take this role to heart. We've both been athletes like yourself. We want to be there supporting everyone, and not just, let me stress, not just, the people who are going to win. Yeah, not just the medalists.
I know.
And
let's give a better understanding for that, because a lot of the times the schedule of the chef de mission, from my perspective, was they were going to events where medals were going to happen.
Yes.
And it kind of sucks for the other athletes that may not be in medal potential. And how I think it's super cool that you and Josh have decided to like not just be there for the medalists, but to be there for all of the athletes. And I don't know how you're going to make that happen.
I don't know either. No, but I will say it's something Josh and I talked a lot about.
Yeah.
Because I think, my bio, you did such a nice job with my bio, by the way. Like, I'm like, oh, is that me? Just
I know.
That sounds so cool. But
you did all that. You did do all of that.
But it, and it's natural and normal, and sport is competitive. So it's like this many medals, this many whatevers. But I mean, I had a long career, and there are lots of times I wasn't on the podium, or that I came fourth, or that and people who aren't competitive athletes don't get this, where I might have podiumed and done well, but I was like, oh, I didn't ski the way I wanted to ski. So I was like this, there's sometimes a dissonance between how you skied or did your sport and how you ended up. And sometimes I feel like I got on the podium, but I didn't deserve to be there because I didn't ski as well. And other times I skied like amazing.
Yeah.
And my coach was like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's like, oh, you're seventh. And so these things happen, and you have to have lived it to know it. And so in terms of how we're going to make it happen, I always say that Josh and I are going to divide and conquer. We didn't so much in Santiago. The footprint was smaller, and it was the first time we were working together as chefs. So we divided and conquered a little, but we were together quite a bit. I think in Paris, the footprint of the games is huge. So like where all the venues are. Yeah. And of course, the number of sports, the number of disciplines, and so on. Yeah. So we are going to divide and conquer. And I have to say, we have one person at the Canadian Paralympic Committee who has she came up with the best nickname for herself. Can I just say?
Yeah.
So we're co-chefs, Josh and I. And she's like, yeah, my Coco's. And then we're like, oh my God, Coco, like Coco Chanel. Her new nickname,
Oh,
her real name is
Coco.
Renee. But I email her and I'm like, hey, Coco.
Yes.
So her name is Coco now.
And she takes care of you.
Of the co-chefs, of the 2 co's.
Very necessary.
And she is amazing. So she just, is, also with input from other people, from other functions within the Canadian Paralympic Committee, obviously the sport function. They will be sending her, this happened
all of the information.
All the info, like there's a thing at the embassy, there's a, these are the athletes who are competing, these are the locations, these are the times.
Yeah.
And she then figures out all the logistics of how to get us from here to there and everywhere.
Absolutely brilliant.
And nothing, of course, at games, as you know, ever goes like, yes, certain things go on time and go as planned, but especially in terms of transportation from place to place. A
bit challenging.
And Paris is going to be super challenging. So she does all the magic and we have our input, but she, I have a lot of respect for her. I wouldn't want her.
She's got a lot going on in her head, I'm sure.
Yeah. So
logistics.
That's how we're going to do it.
Okay.
We'll see. And we, it's day to day, like it changes.
Mm-hmm.
Based on, mostly based on who's advancing and who, because you never know. That's why people love the games. You don't actually know. And you have surprise finalists, and you have people who didn't make, so everything is going to be changing. It's crazy. The days are really long, like in Santiago, and I think Paris will be even more so. The days are long. Like they're long in a way, like as an athlete, this is what you do day in and day out. And if you've, in my opinion, if you're a well-trained athlete, and if you're not a veteran, you're trained and you kind of know what to expect. And you've been working for a long time with your coaches, with your mental health, sports psych, whomever. So that you're kind of ready, you know what to expect. And you just go in and I make it sound so easy. And you just have to execute. So easy.
Do what you do.
It's not hard. There's no pressure. There aren't tons of people watching you. No. It's not Paris. No. But, and whereas a coach, as a chef, it's like, it's going to be a lot of things. But I really like the variety. I love meeting people. Even when I was a skier, that whole thing about the stupidest, funniest thing you did, I was unofficially like the social coordinator of the World Cup because I speak English, French, and Polish, and I pretend to speak a million other languages just because I'm like this all the time. I'm like telling everybody what to do and like, okay, everyone, we're gonna go here and we're all gonna do this. And like,
so good.
I love it.
So good. Well, I mean, I can't imagine 2 better people to be taking care of our Paralympic athletes in Paris. Congratulations on getting the role, because I know it's not an easy one to get. You must be just over the moon, and I'm so grateful that you guys had that strategy of doing Santiago prior, so that you also got to meet the athletes. You're not going to be an unfamiliar face to any of them, and they're so lucky to have you. Now, you did tell me where everyone can find you online if they want to follow along, but let everyone know where they can find you.
Okay, so I am on Instagram and I'm just learning, so I'm not the best, but I quite like it. And that's, as a chef, that's where I put my reels and so on. So to make life complicated for everybody, it's my first name, Karolina.Anna with 2 N's, .Wisniewska. So that's my whole name. And that's on Instagram, and you'll know it's me because there's a picture of me with one of my bronze medals from Vancouver. That's my like Instagram photo. Like you could tell it's like someone who's won something in something.
You're in the toque as well, aren't you? Yeah. Red on each side and white stripe in the middle.
Yes,
love
Vancouver it. 2010 toque.
Yeah.
And of course, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. And this happened so fast. We're done already. This was so much fun.
I know. Thank you so much for dropping in. I mean, I can't wait for you to learn Italian. I can't wait to see more of you at the Paralympics, and they're coming up quickly. So are you packed and ready to go almost?
No. Are you kidding me? I packed the day before. No, I actually have suitcases behind me. I was like, oh, what am I'm slowly, I never had this luxury as a ski racer, and I'm sure it was the same for you. Like, I barely traveled. I know. Oh no, the ski bag. Woo!
It's a miracle.
I hardly ever travel now compared to when I was an athlete.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I traveled more than I stayed at home, so I never really undid my bag except to take my skis out and tune them.
Yeah.
and everything else just stayed in the bag.
Uh-huh.
Now it's like, ooh, I'm going to Paris. I don't need any skis. It's going to be really
Yeah.
hot. I don't have
It's
my
gonna be hot.
I don't have my Lululemon gear, so it's like I can't really pack yet because my uniform
That's
hasn't arrived.
true. That's true. Then you don't really need any clothes.
Yeah, I'll just walk
You're
around
just
Paris
gonna
with
be
no clothes. I'm
you're
just
gonna be
kidding.
no, you're just gonna be in Lulu kit the whole
Yes,
time.
the whole time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it should be great. I just want to say, Mercedes, you're so cool and so much fun. And I don't know if you're a
you.
whistler, but like, yeah, we should. Even if I don't go snowboarding with you, would you be willing to go ski? I'll ski
Yeah, I
and you
would.
snowboard.
110%.
Okay, let's do that.
I look forward to it. This has been outrageously fun, and I think we're gonna be friends forever now.
I think we already are.
Yes.
Sweet.
Thank you. Thank you so much for dropping in today. You can find everything you want to know about Dropping In with Mercedes at droppinginwithmercedes.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks DJ Kenosis for the music and my mom for the intro voice.